A bill that could change Indian sport forever. It's hit the parliament. It's been called ambitious, it's been called overdue, and in some quarters, a deja vu from Markan's 2011 bill as well. Union Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia introduced the National Sports Governance Bill 2025, a sweeping legislation that aims to bring transparency, gender equality, and athlete welfare to the front and center of Indian sport. But the headline grabber, for the first time ever, the all-powerful BCCI, Indian cricket's governing body, is being brought under the Right to Information Act, the RTI. A move resisted for over a decade may finally become a law. Now here's the deja vu aspect. Back in 2011, the then Sports Minister, Ajay Markan, tried to bring in a similar bill. Same ambition, same RTI demand, but it was blocked. Not by the opposition, but from within his own government. So what's changed now? Is the BJP pushing the same reforms it once opposed? Will this bill actually empower athletes, or is it about control? And what does this mean for BCCI President Rashtrapati, who just crossed the age cap, age 70, set by the bill? Seasoned sports journalist with us to decode what this bill really means for Indian sport and whether it's game on or game over for the old power structures. With me on the broadcast, Chandrasekhar Luthra, senior sports journalist, and Mahavir Rawat, sports journalist, who's also with us on the broadcast. A very warm welcome to you, gentlemen. And Mr. Luthra, let me quickly come to you. Help the viewers understand. Let's break this down for the viewers before we go into the politics of whether this really is a deja vu from 2011 and how subsequent governments have actually had consultations together. Mansukh Mandavia has made it quite clear that, yes, I did meet Ajay Markan as well. We've picked up on the blueprint of the 2011 sports bill as well. Something that, you know, the Indian viewers are going to be happy to see, both subsequent governments working in tandem with each other. But what are the big ticket reforms in the bill? What really changes for the athletes on the ground? Are they the key stakeholders now, Ms. Luthra?
Well, any sports minister or any government officials, when they come out and say that they want to bring in the transparency, then just see what has happened to RTI in India. So when anything you file, either police will come to your house or they'll just give one reason in the national interest. Nothing can be, be given to the respondent anyway. So coming back to Markan era, yes, I remembered in 2011, soon after that Commonwealth Games, when he tried to bring in Sharad Pawar and everybody within the Congress, Congress and the UPA, they tore off that bill for the simple reason they never wanted to follow what government says. So they had valid reasons, they had invalid reasons also. One is obviously the RTI thing. Whether BCCI wants to come under RTI, that's a big thing. If they are coming under RTI, I am all for this bill. But the point is, what kind of RTI? The RTI we are witnessing right now under the NDA government, or anything that probably they are trying to bring in also a tribunal in order to control the association. So there are two different ways to talk about. So I have all my doubts about the intentions of the government, but this bill as such is absolutely has nothing more than what Mr. Markan was trying to bring in, and also subsequently what Justice Lodha, got changes into the BCCI. The only difference is a tribunal which is going to resolve all the issues. That means
You're right. And I think, Mr. Luthra, in my limited opinion, it was the approach and the execution of the 2011 aspect as well, because there was some sort of SOPs that were put forth because the cabinet struck this entire bill down back in 2011. Then, of course, those SOPs had come out, and the implementation and execution of those SOPs, that was also not very nicely embraced by the sporting bodies. Mr. Rawat, how do you look at these developments? The key provisions of the Sports Bill 2025 speak to us. They say RTI coverage for all the sports federations, mandatory recognition via National Sport Board, age cap relaxation extendable to 75 years, of course, with prior conditions, annual elections and transparency norms, stronger safeguards for women and minors. Is this mere lip service, or are major reforms really on the cards?
Kabir, what happens with a very good bill is how much of that is executed. I'm sure when they have put their brains on to make this bill, they have put an eye on Olympics 2026, and they have tried to eliminate all the things that till now have been the thorn in the flesh for the government, because the government absolutely has no control over the national sports federations, because they are affiliated to IOA, which is further affiliated to International Olympic Association.
Right.
So government by this bill has tried to, there are so many cases that go in for litigation because of the elections, the selections, the doping, and there are many things that just government feels that they are not able to control this. So maybe this is an attempt from the
Okay.
government, because the money that is spent, the grant that is given is by the government. So there is a feeling in the government that these national sports federations need to be brought under one umbrella, and there has to be someone who has to control these national sports federation. Also, there was a feeling that 70 is not an age where a person should retire. I mean, I have seen comments coming from many people, even from the courts, that okay, 70 is not a by that time he just decides to becomes a more and more bigger asset. So they have gone ahead and relaxed it to 75.
But there
I
are prior
look,
conditions on that particular
yeah,
front as well. They
there are
can
prior
contest
conditions.
elections if all the other international governing bodies don't necessarily object to this person contesting the elections. But Ms. Luthra, Mr. Rawat here making some impeccable points. Needless to say, let's also talk about BCCI and the impact beyond Roger Binney. Of course, that's one question mark which will soon be answered as well once it is taken up by the Parliament, becomes a law as well. Seems to be no roadblocks for Roger Binney to continue on till he's 75. But beyond Roger Binney, what more for the BCCI? The ever strong BCCI is finally going to fall under the RTI ambit. What will now change for BCCI? Money is also, government funding is also a touchy topic in this on this particular front.
Look, as far as BCCI concerned,
Mr. Rawat,
my friend
Mr. Rawat,
and
let's have
senior.
Mr. Luthra come in. I'm going to come back
No,
to you very quickly.
I'll allow Mr.
Well,
Luthra to speak, because
Many thanks. Many thanks.
not more people would be knowing, but when it comes to BCCI and writing against BCCI and raising very valid points, my dear friend and senior, Mr. Chandrasekhar Luthra, has always been at the forefront. And I personally feel that there is no one who can control BCCI. So that's what when Mr. Luthra says that if it is coming under RTI, so there are many ifs and buts in his answer also, because there are many things that the BCCI will still try and do. They will try to bring it, they will try to go to the court, they will bring in bigger legal voices than they already have framed the law, because somehow BCCI does not feel very comfortable coming under anyone. So I have my doubts. Rest.
But according to the
Chandrasekhar
Union
Bhai will
Sports
take
Minister,
it
according to the Union Sports Minister, there have been hectic parleys, due deliberations and discussions have happened, and finally they've been convinced to come under this aspect. Mr. Rawat here talking about the ifs and buts. Mr. Luthra, beyond Roger Binney, what is the impact going to be on
no ifs and
BCCI?
buts in my mind. Sorry, I have no ifs and buts in my mind.
Okay.
I know how cricket is being run in this country, and I also know that despite the Justice Lodha recommendations, or the later on which became the law of the land, how government has destroyed that thing. How Justice Chandrachud, who wrote 3 judgments, during that time, how he only, diluted those judgments and given a leeway to Mr. Jaisha, who
So,
is
Mr.
son
Luthra,
of
when this
Mr.
new
Amit.
sports bill says, when the new sports bill says that now BCCI will have to comply, it must comply with government norms. And what I'm picking
That's
up
what
is the idea that BCCI has become this larger than life cricketing body, which sort of deems itself untouchable at this point in time. Do you think there's going to be too many run-ins with the government in the days to come if this does go through?
Look, there is one thing which has changed in the last few years, ever since Supreme Court, came up with those recommendations, or the improvements, or they sacked that one BCCI president who later on became the sports minister. So that's a kind of a background. But my point is, there is one thing that has changed, that now the government controls BCCI, because all the cricketing bodies right now in India are basically, I would say, more or less being governed by the sympathizers or the followers of the BJP party. So there is this change. And second, when you say that you have talks with the BCCI, then obviously there is Jai Shah, Mr. That new secretary from Guwahati, who is under also, who has been made this secretary because of the chief minister there. So there are people who are sympathizers to the BCCI. So in a way, it looks kind of thing that yes, obviously BCCI could come under the control of government. But the problem is there are so many other stakeholders. Mahavir is right in that way that there could be litigation, there could be big legal battle.
Okay.
But the point is who is going to take that legal battle? Mr. Jaisha or Mr. Saikia, Mr. Roger Bin. Roger Bin is a silent president. He doesn't have much to say on all this. Apart from the thing that he suits BCCI because he's a non-controversial person. They want this kind of people in BCCI. So BCCI being more than 50,000 crore company,
Right.
you have to understand it's more than so many countries' budget. Government wants to control completely in the coming days. Whether or that happens or not, that is one thing that I would be very keenly watching all these things.
All right.
But again, one last thing. But anywhere where government intervenes, let me tell you, that goes for a toss. You look at anything that government controls, whether it's awards or any association, it goes for a toss. So in nutshell, if there is no tribunal, if these could function, as in an autonomous way without the interference of government, I would still say that this would be a welcome move. But again, if there will be a tribunal,
when it comes to cricket,
all those
Mr.
people from the
Luthra,
government-
we've discussed the
Yes.
Champions Trophy, we've discussed the IPL. We know that we wear it on our sleeves when it comes to cricket. But let's move beyond cricket before I wrap up this segment. Mr. Rawat, beyond cricket, for athletes in general, because one has to understand the need for the sports bill as well. Over 350 court cases in sport bodies, calls for accountability over years of mismanagement, transformation in the Olympic preparations as well, something that you pointed out in your opening remarks. This does set a precedent for global standards as well. Is this really a major sporting governance reform that India really needs at this point in time? How will this now help all the other bodies? You've got the Wrestling Federation as well.
Look, I would like to be very positive. The kind of details that are here, that there has to be 30% representation of women. The player participation has to be there. There has to be a grievance redressal system. So everything looks very fine on paper. But at the end of the day, how much power National Sports Federation has? I for sure know that the Sports Authority of India has gone and de-affiliated a National Sports Federation, which again has gone to the international body and got their affiliation. So I don't know how much of the power this sports bill will wield on the National Sports Federation because of the kind of autonomy. But yes, the changes were are always in sports. The changes are always welcome, because if they involve more involvement of the players, of female participation, especially in the executive committee, I really welcome those decisions, because
athletes as well, Mr. Rawat, not just female, not just women, but minors as well, our young athletes as well. So I think let's leave it that. Let's hope for good sense to prevail, and let's hope that we can all welcome this as an actual reform that we all needed at this time and age, when the entire world is talking about athletes and Indians making their way into the track and field. I think it's the right moment for us to be talking about a new sports bill. On that note, Mr. Luthra and Mr. Rawat, many thanks for joining us. Whether you're an athlete, a fan, or simply someone who believes in fair play, the National Sports Governance Bill matters. It's not just about cricket or courtrooms. It's about building a system where talent is protected, decisions are transparent, and no federation is as bigger than the game. And as the bill heads to Parliament now, the question is, will the Indian sport finally turn the corner, or will history now repeat itself? All right then, shifting our focus here, ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of External Affairs has now responded to the Air India crash body mix-up reports. The India's Ministry of External Affairs has responded to reports of misidentified remains from the Air India 171 Ahmedabad crash, saying it is working closely with the United Kingdom authorities to address these very concerns. MEA spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal said the identification of the victims was carried out as per established protocols, and that all the mortal remains were handled with professionalism and dignity. He added that India continues to engage with the United Kingdom and the UK side to resolve these matters following concerns raised by the grieving families in Britain. Now the Ministry of External Affairs coming out with their own statement on the Air India crash body mix-up reports originating from Britain. The Ministry of External Affairs, via its spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal, coming out and saying that the entire process was carried out under the exact protocols. All the mortal remains were handled with professionalism, and they are in direct contact with the UK authorities, their counterparts, to address these very concerns at this point in time. That's their statement. We've seen the report and have been working closely with the UK side from the moment these concerns and issues were brought to our attention in the wake of the tragic crash, AI-171. The concerned authorities had carried out identification of the victims as per the established and technical requirements. All the remains were handled with utmost professionalism, with due regard for dignity of the deceased. We are continuing to work with the UK authorities on addressing these particular concerns. Senior Executive Editor, News 9, Aditya Rajkol, with us on the broadcast here. Aditya, I mean, these reports coming on a day, these headlines coming on a day when the Prime Minister is already expected to land in United Kingdom, the FTA, major meetings and bilateral trade agreement on the cards as well. But now, Ministry of External Affairs coming out with that clarity. How can you help the viewers here? Take it away.
That's right, Kabir. There were reports coming in from the UK, particularly from the media in the UK. The Daily Mail had done a report saying that some of the bodies that had reached UK, or the victims of the Air India crash, were in fact wrongly identified. And that's why the MEA, the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal, has now come up with a statement saying that we've seen the report and have been working closely with the UK side from the moment these concerns and issues were brought to our attention. In the wake of the tragic crash, the concerned authorities had carried out identification of victims as per the established protocols and technical requirements, and all mortal remains were handled with utmost professionalism and with due regard of the dignity of the deceased. We are continuing to work with the UK authorities on addressing any concerns related to this issue. Of course, you know, Kabir, it's a challenging task when so many dead bodies that have been completely, difficult to identify during that crash. So it's a very difficult exercise. This was a very, very gruesome accident, and identifying those body parts was a particularly complex exercise for the Indian authorities in Gujarat. And in accidents of such nature, it is likely that body tissues of different people get fused, which may lead to different results when making DNA analysis. But certainly, Indian government is aware of the concerns that have been there, and these are being addressed with the top priority from the Government of India.
All right. Many thanks, Aditya, for joining us and helping us out with the latest details. The Ministry of External Affairs working in tandem with their counterparts in the United Kingdom. Of course, Aditya rightly pointed out, in such cases of gruesome aviation accidents where bodies are completely charred, mortal remains are seldom identified completely without the use of DNA. These kind of mix-ups can actually happen, and in this particular front, the Indian Ministry of External Affairs working very closely to address all of these concerns. All right then, shifting our focus here, in a shocking statement, you've got a JDU Member of Parliament, Girdhari Yadav, who said that the Special Intensive Revision exercise, the SIR of the electoral rolls by the Election Commission of India, is akin to a Tughlaqi farman. And why does he say that? Because he's taking a dig at the poll body. He said the Election Commission has no practical knowledge, it knows nothing, it doesn't understand the geography of Bihar. The JDU Member of Parliament termed the exercise as forcefully being imposed on Bihar, saying if you wanted to do it, you should have given us 6 months. You could have given us more time. This is like a Tughlaqi farman of the Election Commission. As a party, the JDU has supported the SIR exercise. It is also in coalition with the BJP in the state, also under the NDA umbrella. And when questioned about the JDU MP, Yadav said he was only sharing his personal opinion. Listen in to what Girdhari Yadav had to say.
चुनाव आयोग जो है ना, उसको कोई क्या कहते हैं, व्यवहारिक ज्ञान नहीं है. वो बिहार का न इतिहास जानता है, न भूगोल जानता है, कुछ जानता ही नहीं है. ये बरसात के दिन में जब खेती का दिन चल रहा है, आदमी को हमको कागज पत्र जुगाड़ करने में 10 दिन लग गया. मेरा बेटा अमेरिका में रहता है, कैसे साइन करेगा 1 महीना के अंदर में? तो कोई व्यवहारिक है कि जबरदस्ती हम लोग पर थोप दिया. अरे कराना था तो 6 महीने का समय देता, पहले से करा लेता. ये तो एकदम कैसे होता है ना, कोई तुगलकी फरमान है चुनाव आयोग का. पार्टी से क्या मतलब? हम अपना व्यक्तिगत विचार दे रहे हैं. हमारा बेटा अमेरिका में कैसे साइन करेगा, आप ही बता दीजिए. अपना भी हम एक्सपीरियंस बता रहे हैं. पार्टी से सब हम पार्टी के साथ हम तब हैं जब वोट डालने जाएंगे. बाकी मेरा तो कुछ स्वतंत्र विचार भी है ना. ये मेरा स्वतंत्र विचार है। मुझे भी मान सकते हैं, पार्टी को खिलाफ का क्या बयान है, सच्चाई यही है। अब सच्चाई भी नहीं बोल पाए तो एमपी बने काहे के लिए?
That's the reaction coming from Girdhari Yadav. He says, it took me 10 days to collect all documents. My son stays in America. How will he do the signatures in just a month? This special intensive revision over which the Bihar Assembly saw the ruckus yesterday. There was protest in the Parliament and the Bihar Assembly again today as well. The opposition MLA is now demanding the special intensive revision to be completely scrapped out. Rahul Gandhi, leader of opposition in the lower house of the Parliament, said that elections are being stolen in this country, and that's the reality of the country. Now, Girdhari Yadav, a JDU member of Parliament, going against the special intensive revision as well. Meanwhile, like I mentioned, opposition protests demanding a discussion on the special intensive revision of the electoral rolls in Bihar. It continued to stall the proceedings of both houses of the Parliament, saw yet another day of no business owing to the ruckus created by the opposition MPs. Both houses, the lower and the upper house, have been adjourned for the day after opposition resorted to sloganeering demanding a discussion on the SIR.
लोगों की रक्षा के लिए अगर हम लोगों का वोट देने का जो अधिकार उसकी रक्षा नहीं करेंगे तो लोकतंत्र कैसे जीवित रहेगा? आज संविधान पर दोबारा भाजपा प्रहार कर रही है और लोगों का वोट देने का हक चोरी कर रही है।
In the Lok Sabha, opposition members stormed into the well of the House, visuals on your screens, holding placards pressing for their demand. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla warned against this and remarked the conduct of the protesting members resembled street behavior. You also had Rajya Sabha, minutes after it started for the day, got adjourned initially till 12 p.m. and on reconvening was again adjourned till 2 p.m. only to reconvene and then finally adjourned for the day. Both houses of the Parliament adjourned after opposition MPs staged protests demanding that discussion on the special intensive revision of electoral rolls in Bihar. Mired in this deadlock was the Sports Governance Bill, slated to be tabled in the Parliament today. The bill aims to lighten the load on the beleaguered judiciary by having a sports tribunal headed by a Supreme Court judge for speedy redressal of disputes as well.
देश को एक बात देखनी पड़ेगी, ये पहली बार हो रहा है कि सत्ताधारी मोदी सरकार सदन को चलने नहीं देती, सदन में चर्चा नहीं करवाती। 52 लाख बिहार के लोगों की वोट काटी जा रही है। 52 लाख वोट काट देंगे तो प्रजातंत्र के क्या मायने बिहार में या देश में बच जाएंगे? 52 लाख लोगों को वोट से महरूम करना, उनकी वोट काट देना, प्रजातंत्र में उनकी हिस्सेदारी खत्म कर देना, क्या ये अपने आप में प्रजातंत्र को खत्म करने का षड्यंत्र नहीं? क्या ये बाबा साहब अंबेडकर, पंडित नेहरू, सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल द्वारा निर्मित संविधान के विरुद्ध नहीं? जो चुनाव आयोग जिस प्रकार से भाजपा का पिट्ठू बनकर, उनका विभाग बनकर हारी हुई भाजपा और नीतीश कुमार को वोट काट कर, वोट चोरी करके जिताने की एक नाकामयाब कोशिश कर रहा है, हम उस पर रोक लगाना चाहते हैं और उस पर चर्चा चाहते हैं। इसलिए आज संसद की मर्यादाएं तार तार अगर हो रही हैं तो मोदी सरकार जिम्मेवार है।
देखिए, मेरी समझ के परे है जब सरकार हर विषय पर चर्चा करने के लिए तैयार है। आप कीजिए ना, सदन तो चलने दीजिए, पूछिए सवाल, सारी बातें हम लोग बताने को तैयार हैं। एसआईआर को लेके जिस तरीके से भ्रम, और ये विपक्ष की पुरानी राजनीति का हिस्सा रहा है। अगर कोई ऐसा विषय आता है, किसी के डॉक्यूमेंटेशन में दिक्कत है, ये लोग जमीन पर तो जाते नहीं है विपक्ष के लोग। भाई एक पुरानी एक परंपरा रही है, अगर ये लोग अपने बीएलओ अपॉइंट कर रहे हैं तो हर राजनीतिक दल के पास एक अपना बीएलए भी होता है। हम लोग के भी बूथ लेवल एजेंट होते हैं, वो जाते हैं, वो कागज पत्री में हर चीज में मदद करते हैं अगर कोई ऐसा विषय आता है। पर सिर्फ भ्रम फैलाना कि नागरिकता छीन ली जाएगी तो आपको डिस्क्वालीफाई कर दिया जाएगा, शिकायत कौन करता है? शिकायत भी तो आप ही करते हैं ना। क्या ये बात सही नहीं कि महाराष्ट्र के चुनाव के बाद, लोकसभा के चुनाव के बाद इन लोगों ने जाके डुप्लीकेसी ऑफ वोट का इन्होंने मामला उठाया था? राहुल जी की पार्टी ने, कांग्रेस की तरफ से किया गया था कि वोट की डुप्लीकेसी हो रही है।
प्रॉब्लम क्या है, ये वोटर लिस्ट देते हैं पेपर में, और पेपर की जब वोटर लिस्ट आती है उसको एनालाइज किया नहीं जा सकता। तो एक कंस्टिट्यूएंसी ने, हमने पूरी की पूरी वोटर लिस्ट ली, उसको डिजिटल फॉर्मेट किया, 6 महीने लगे हमने, मगर हमने सारा का सारा मतलब इनका सिस्टम निकाल दिया है। ये कैसे करते हैं, कौन वोट करता है, कहां से वोट होता है, कैसे नए वोटर बनते हैं, पूरा का पूरा हमें मालूम है। और अब इन्होंने क्या किया है कि अब हम बिहार का पूरा सिस्टम नए तरीके से करेंगे, वोटर डिलीट करेंगे और नए तरीके से वोटर लिस्ट लाएंगे। हिंदुस्तान में इलेक्शन चोरी किए जा रहे हैं, ये रियलिटी है हिंदुस्तान की।
नहीं, सीधी बात है, जो कहना है वो यहाँ कह रहे हैं, न्यायालय में कहेंगे और ये कहेंगे किसी पार्टी के इशारे पे जब इस प्रकार की बेदखली की परियोजना चलाते हैं तो इतिहास भुगतेगा, लोकतंत्र लहूलुहान होगा। सत्ता पक्ष प्रवक्ता हो गया है क्या चुनाव आयोग का? इसी से तो कह रहा हूँ, ये देखिए मोसेरे भाई फलाना फलाना।
Meanwhile, on day 3 of the monsoon session of the parliament, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi launched a sharp attack on Prime Minister Modi, questioning his silence over repeated claims by US President Donald Trump, saying that Trump has publicly asserted at least 25 times that he brokered a ceasefire between India and Pakistan during Operation Sindoor. Gandhi accused the Prime Minister of avoiding any response to these claims, calling it a matter of national concern. He said, and I quote, "How can the Prime Minister deny that Trump played a role in the ceasefire?" I unquote. The BJP, slamming Rahul Gandhi, accused him of questioning the victory of India's armed forces.
सीज़फायर की बात नहीं है, बहुत बड़े प्रॉब्लम्स हैं जो हम डिस्कस करना चाहते हैं। डिफेंस के प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, डिफेंस इंडस्ट्री के प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के प्रॉब्लम्स हैं। हालात अच्छी नहीं है, पूरा देश जानता है। जो अपने आप को देशभक्त कहते हैं वो भग गए, राइट? प्राइम मिनिस्टर एक स्टेटमेंट नहीं दे पा रहे हैं। ट्रंप ने कितनी बार बोला है? 25 बार बोला है। ट्रंप ने 25 बार बोला है कि मैंने सीज फायर करवाया। ट्रंप कौन होता है सीज फायर कराने का? उसका काम थोड़ी है। मगर प्रधानमंत्री ने एक बार जवाब नहीं दिया।
Moving on, in a surprise move, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar, he'd resigned from office on Monday night following what officials described as an unscheduled visit to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Dhankhar met President Draupadi Murmu around 9 p.m. and handed over his resignation. Just 30 minutes later, he made the announcement public on social media. Citing health reasons, Jagdeep Dhankhar said he was stepping down with immediate effect in line with Article 67, subclause A of the Constitution. His resignation came on the very first day of the monsoon session of the Parliament. Jagdeep Dhankhar, 74 years old, had assumed office in August 2022 and was due to serve until 2027.